interesting topic today and an interesting guest as well. Today's topic is short-term gains lead to long-term gains, the equality between safety and production. And who better to discuss this than Mr. Aaron Royster, who is the director of ADR and Associates with over 20 years of experience in safety management and workers' comp production. Aaron, how are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent.
Awesome. Mark. You ready to get started?
Yes, thank you for having me. I sure am.
All right. So topic. My first question on our topic is, in what ways can safety actually enhance production and contribute to long-term success rather than being seen as a hindrance? I feel like a lot of people see safety as an afterthought, an inconvenience. There's something we gotta do, go through the motions, give a lip service. What are your thoughts?
Well, the way I feel is safety is integral to production, and it, along with first-time quality, along with reliability, makes production. So it should never be seen as a hindrance, but it should be seen as a support. And if it's an equation, and all of this are systems. So the way I look at it is, you have a system. When you're manufacturing anything, it's a system to it. And you have to put in inputs to that system, and then it will equal production instead of always looking directly at production. So that's how I see it.
So you can't have production without safety because safety is a part of production.
That's right. Safety makes up the production, so it can never be seen as a hindrance. Oftentimes, it's problem solving. Oftentimes, safety leads the way, whether on a machine due to a safety switch being avoided or not functioning properly. Oftentimes that causes the machine not to work. And so having a good, robust safety program where everyone is involved, including the operators on a day-to-day activity, along with your maintenance department, and they're discussing safety, they're looking at safety, they're looking at PMs, and they're looking at how to make improvements. These things are vital, especially if your company is trying to go to an ISO type certification, 45001 or 14001.
Yeah, sure.
So if you're going to do that, it's vital that safety be integral and be a part, and it's 1/3 of production. The other two parts are first-time quality and reliability. If you can nail those things, and every day you come to work looking at those things and trying to improve them, you'll find that your production at the end of the week is outstanding.
That makes a lot of sense. So instead of thinking that safety is just another thing you have to do to get to production, realize that you need safety to produce, right? If you're not producing safely, then you're producing at a risk. That is, at some point, something's going to pull it over, right?
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So how do organizational culture and leadership play a role in aligning safety to production goals? What have you seen out there? You've been doing this for so long.
I see that the best companies have it coming from top down, not from bottom up. So they make it a priority. They put it on, starting with the plant manager, saying, safety is vital here, and we're going to do safety. And so I like having safety done monthly with team members. So you go over all of your OSHA regulatory requirements, but you also have to have risk assessment set up for every department and every work environment. And that's part of what they do on their day-to-day when they're looking at their OA operating output, that safety is a part of that. And so if it's nothing but making sure at the beginning of the shift, everyone has on their correct PPE, they're ready to go. And then during the day, if anything should come up, then we can discuss it with that work team leader or supervisor, having it, putting it on the board and doing what we call safety gimbals. And the safety gimbal would go get the whoever is the subject matter expert around safety, have them there with those concerns and do some problem solving. And
so
then,
like a champion.
Yeah, and correct those problems every hour. Make those corrections or ensure that those things don't continue to hinder your performance throughout the whole day. And so getting back to your question though, It comes from top down. The top management, if the plant manager says, you know what, safety is going to be on everyone's list, and it's going to be evaluated at the end of the year, and it's going to be evaluated not by injuries, but how much training is done, how many times the gimbals are done, how many times audits are done, and then how many times do we have our safety meetings and you attend them and you have safety corrective actions that you want to talk about and share. Make that the criteria, and that's the standard, and that's what you hold them accountable to, not injuries. And you kind of really want to get away. If you do all those things, if you do your auditing, if you have your gimbal boards, if you're looking at OA, and you're looking at how safety plays a part, making sure corrective actions include safety information, then you're going to have a very productive week, and company is going to be extremely productive, and the team members know that you care. I always say safety is more about caring than anything else, and team members would feel that if they see from top down, the plant manager cares, the operating department head cares, and then the work team leader cares, and the team member definitely cares.
So if you don't have buy-in from the top, it's very hard to get any sort of momentum from the bottom.
That's absolutely correct. If you don't have that plant manager saying safety is important, operation manager saying safety is important, work team leader saying safety is important, if you don't have that, then the team members definitely not going to say safety is important, and you could fall flat on your face.
That reminds me of that saying, lead by example. You know, if I'm seeing the more senior people in authority break their rules, how important are the rules, right? But if I see them truly caring, truly engaged, truly, backing up the talk, walking the walk, I'll probably do what they ask me to do. How I feel about that. And that was my next question, Aaron. And you spoke a little bit about this, right? You spoke about some strategies like the CPM and whatnot. What other strategies can be employed to create a balance between meeting production targets and maintaining stringent safety measures? And I use the word stringent very carefully here, right? Because obviously, if it's too strict, you end up being a safety trap. And that's not what we're trying to be.
Yeah. So I'll say put in risk assessments in each department. And then you have on a weekly basis, whoever that champion of safety is, the safety manager, gets with the work team leader and the ops manager of that department, and they go and they look at their board and they look at what they're doing for safety. And if you don't do it on a weekly basis, at least bi-weekly, the work team leader should bring whatever it is that those safety critical items that they found that need correction, bring those to the safety steering team meeting and share it with the rest of the team members, because I often find that if something happens in one department, it's probably going to be replicated in another department.
Okay.
So they have to hit those controls, and everybody's talking about that.
That makes sense.
And then the last part is to empower the team members, to let them know that they have the responsibility of communicating when things aren't right, so they can hold management accountable.
Okay.
Oftentimes we talk about, safety equipment, the PPE, it's on the company to provide that to the team members, but the team members have to communicate when it's needed and not use stuff that's not in good repair. And so if we empower those team members and we praise them and thank them and recognize them in a positive way for turning in bad PPE or for communicating audit concerns, then we then kind of shape that culture that you want of identifying things that need to be replaced before an incident occurs.
What have you done in the past to increase or encourage employee feedback? Can you give us some more examples?
Sure. Recognition programs. We used to give out, one thing we used to do is give out a trophy. We had what we call is the broom, and then we had another trophy called the opportunity. So the broom went to the department that had the best compliance record and the best housekeeping. And then the opportunities trophy went to the department that had some opportunities. And so it was a pig, and they just didn't like the pig. And oftentimes what we found is the team that received the pig the next month, they were getting the broom because they were motivated. I mean, it was a peer on peer type of thing. They really cared about, I don't want to be recognized with the opportunities, but more so with the golden broom.
That makes sense. Yeah, they're kind of like, we're going to catch me slipping again, right?
Yeah, and it didn't cost the company any money to recognize great behavior and recognize team members that are doing things the way that they want them done. And you will find the very best years in safety also equal the very best years in production, especially when you focus on quality and reliability. So if you get your very best years of safety, quality, and reliability, there's no doubt in my mind it's going to correlate to the very best years of production. It always does, because those are the things that stop you from being productive. If you're having to remake the items over and over again, you're losing money. And then, of course, if people can't depend on you providing the product to them when you say you are, you're going to lose customers. So it always equates to the very best years in safety, quality, and reliability equals production. Never always looking at production. You never look directly at production.
You changed my perspective here. Okay, so it's like a trifecta, like a stool that's holding up production.
Yes, it's total. The three things make up that system. It's a systematic approach, and it's replicable, which is the big thing. And you can always do it, and you always focus, and then you bring in those gimbal walks, not only talking about safety, but talking about bottlenecks, more talking about what's stopping my production. And it'll be amazed as you bring in that safety expert along with your maintenance team, and you can brainstorm, of course, with your continuous improvement manager as well. And these are the ways that you can clear up those bottlenecks and ensure that those three things are being done and being done in a productive way. And then, of course, you're going to get your production.
So it's almost like you need everybody's input to really see things differently, right? So everyone has something to bring to the table that might improve the production.
Right? That is correct.
I think that's a great idea, having stakeholders from every department or representatives from every department coming together. It kind of clears out a lot of that silo nature that departments tend to have at times, where they're operating independently. Right? Both in some communication and transparency. What are you working on? What are you working on? Maybe I can help you with that. You can help me with that. We can work together and get it done faster.
Yeah, and all we care about is getting the safety, quality, and reliability. And if everyone is working on those at the same time in that collaborative environment, you have a very successful team.
Well, that brings me to my last question. We spoke about balance, right? How has the balance between safety and production evolved over time? What future trends are anticipated in aligning these key critical aspects of any business or profitable one anyway?
Well, if you look at it before 1970, if you got injured, you were fired. You just quit. And then, of course, the government stepped in because it was the mistreatment of the labor force. The bigger companies just continued to move forward. And then if you even tried to sue them, you didn't have the muscle to keep up with them. And then eventually they would get to a court that you couldn't work in. And so your court case was lost. And so a lot of times team members never really cared about OSHA until OSHA was formed. Occupational Safety and Health in 1970 and signed into law by Richard Nixon. And with that came the ability for workers' comp to ensure that the team member got their just due. They got their payment. And so they got their payment, and then companies say, well, how can we prevent having these high workers' comp costs, i.e. safety professionals were born. And so how does that equate to the whole productivity model? Initially, it was seen as a hindrance, because this person got hurt and so they couldn't work and so they fired themselves. Now it's you get hurt and we have to get you to the very best medical treatment and get you back, but we've lost a lot of money with that injury, and so that could take a small company under. So you always want to look at how it has evolved. Now we're looking at 2023 where lawsuits are the norm, but workers' comp prevent a bunch of the lawsuits because they have to get the team members paid their medical treatment, and then if you should lose a body part, you're paid out sufficiently for that through workers' comp. And the only way that the company can get sued is to have poor safety, right? Because if the OSHA comes in and they say, yep, this was a willful act by the company, they didn't train the team member properly, therefore he didn't kill himself, the family now has a way to get hold a company liable past workers' compensation. So to me, that's the biggest thing, that safety in caring for people should want to train them properly, ensure every day ergonomically that they're being doing things the correct way so that you can get that good safety, quality, and reliability, but also that it works hand in hand to equal production and it's not seen as something that you could get fired for. Oftentimes, team members don't want to report incidences because they think they're in trouble.
Yeah.
And so we really have to get away from that model of, you're fired. You just hurt yourself, you just fired yourself. And then back in the old days, it was people lined up outside to come in and get a job. Jobs were stingent.
It's not like that anymore.
Yeah. So now more companies having a model that, I don't have to retrain a person. This person knows what to do, that can do it efficiently. And me having to retrain another person because that's costing me money and it's taken away from my bottom line. So the fact that safety is now an integral part of a systematic approach, and that not only because of legal requirements, but because you care about the people that's making you a bunch of money, hopefully, you will do the right things by them.
Let's set a better myself. Okay. Well, Aaron, I really appreciate you coming on and talking to us about this topic. I think it makes a lot of sense what you're saying. It's definitely a balancing act, but people tend to forget that safety is a really crucial part of production. It's not an after effect. It's not something by the way. It needs to be included and put into the equation from the jump. And because if you have people that work safely and they're happy when they come to work, they tend to work harder, they can work more consistently, they tend to be more productive. Right? But when you have people who are getting injured or your employees are being exposed to hazard, they definitely destroy things around, they destroy that safety culture, and people feel discouraged. They don't even want to stay there very long. They just here to get a check and take care of themselves. They're not listening to anybody. Right? So if the company doesn't want to care, why should the employees?
Yeah, you said it, Mark Anthony. And I appreciate you again for inviting me to the podcast. And hopefully this starts where I can come on maybe quarterly or at least biannually.
Hey, you're always welcome in my show, man.
Great.
Folks, before we go, we're doing a giveaway for our branded t-shirts. Right? Your branded t-shirts. You guys like them? They're cute. Yeah. Leave them back. Take it back out. Yeah. With this QR code. We're going to do a giveaway for one of our subscribers, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you like the video. Some lucky winners going to go home with this shirt. We'll mail to them. Help you learn. Okay? All right, so take care. Until next time, be safe.